What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time here on Saturday afternoon or evening. I am Britt Devine, joined by Mr. Agents of Fandom himself, TJ. TJ, what's going on, dude?
Whew. Just walked in the door a few minutes ago. Computer had to restart when I got here, and so it took me a few minutes to boot up, but we are live. We're ready to go. Got a 4-game slate, ready to dive into it. We got a little bit of a fun one with this injury news popping.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. So, in case any of you are wondering, in the last couple of minutes, Tyrese Halliburton, he was looking doubtful, then he was questionable, then he was a game time decision. He's going to play today. So, if all that Indiana value you might have been looking at earlier in the day is basically out the window, you can still play some of these guys. Still like Halliburton quite a bit. We did get some Orlando news. So, they're also without Wendell Carter Jr. I've got pulled up here on Court IQ. Premium tool here at RotoGrinders. Let's try to make some sense of this, TJ. What can we expect out of this Orlando offense? They're down a lot of starters here, but I still think there's some pretty good players here. Bobo's been playing good. Mo Bamba's always a pretty good fantasy point per minute producer in a limited sample of 118 minutes with Carter, Anthony, and Banchero off the court. He's averaging 42 fantasy points per 36. That would be a little on the high side, I think, tonight if he was to get that, but he's always a good fantasy producer. Let's try to break down for the people. What are we doing with Orlando here?
So for Orlando, I like, but they're not actually the top of my board for teams that I'm playing today. Like, it's all about the Philadelphia 76ers for me. But in terms of this Orlando team, I like Mo Bamba, I like Bobo, and I like and I don't mind Chumo Kiki, but still I'm not even that fond of him. Like, I'm just gonna take some GPP shots on Bobo and Mo Bamba, mix in a little bit of Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs, but I'm not actually getting to too much Orlando today.
All right, let's talk about Philadelphia. We've known what they're going to be doing pretty much the whole day. What are we making? We'll get to the position by position stuff. We've got a little, well, maybe not a little extra time because we're about 3 minutes late, but with only 4 games, we can fit it all in here today. We've got Melton.
One piece of news I actually want to ask you for, just so I got all my bearings here. The one piece I haven't seen yet, I did see we get Keldon Johnson's playing and Devin Vassell is out. Yep. Do we know about Jakob Poeltl?
No, that's still in limbo right now.
Still in limbo. Okay, got you.
So I don't have anything on that. Philadelphia, I'll let you basically talk about them. We've got Milton and Melton. Those are pretty much 2 core plays for anybody playing DFS today in just about all formats. Definitely playing them in cash. From a tournament perspective, do you have a favorite between one of them? Would you lock both of them? How are you handling the lower teal value that everyone's going to be playing, and then maybe any peripheral plays? Of course, everyone's also going to be playing Embiid. Is it a little wacky to play all 3 of them along with maybe Niang or any of the other peripheral value on Philadelphia? Let's try to work through that real quick.
To me, I honestly think it's as simple as I set a rule in the lineup HQ. I'm playing 3 to 4 76ers in all of my lineups, all my 150 on Fanduel. I'm playing 3 to 4 76ers in all of them. And then on top of that, I also have a rule, a player groups rule that I'm going to play 2 of Milton, and Embiid in every single lineup.
Yeah, I like that's what I think literally everybody's going to be doing that tonight. But I would completely agree with that. Being overweight, even if the field's going to be 70% Embiid, maybe even being over that. They are the Philadelphia Joel Embiids at the moment. So I'm expecting a big game from him. Milton and Melton are good. Do you have any? What's your 4th 76er if you had to pick one today?
I don't think there's a 4th that's like stone cold necessary for single entry and for cash games. Like, I think if you need value and they fit, it's all good. But I don't think any of the other members are like locks. But it probably goes Danuel House Jr. 4th, Georges Niang 5th, Niang more for raw points, and House more for points per dollar. And then I don't mind taking a shot on somebody like Matisse Thybulle as well.
All right. I'm just going to run through cash on our sponsor, Fanduel.
I also think if you're doing 150, he's currently not in my pool just because I knew he wouldn't get into the lineups. But I think I might try and manually adjust him into 1 or 2. And And that's, I think somebody like Paul Reed is very interesting for a 150 max on a small slate when we have 76ers mega chalk, just in case you see Embiid in foul trouble, him being gassed or hurt on a back-to-back, something like that, and leading to Paul Reed getting a bunch of minutes. I think he could potentially be a slate breaker.
All right, real quick, cash FanDuel. Looking at Melton and Milton, you got to have those guys in, shooting guard, point guard, mix those twos in. To me, it's basically on FanDuel a mix of Philadelphia and Orlando, right? So you've got Suggs, Wagner, Bol, and Okeke. Okeke's 4,900, Bol 6,400. I wish I could mix in Bamba and Embiid on FanDuel, but you can't really do that. I would much prefer to play Embiid on FanDuel. You need somebody to spend your money on. He looks like an absolute must play today. So mix in the known Philadelphia value, play a lot of the Orlando guys. If you like Halliburton, he's back in there at 8,900. I'm going to expect him to play a good game. If you can't afford him, maybe an Anthony Edwards, but I really do like getting to Halliburton against Orlando. I'm expecting him to basically do whatever he wants, assists, points, things like that tonight. So he's certainly worthwhile. Small forward, again, you've got Wagner from Orlando. This is the one position. I don't really love anything else specifically on FanDuel. I think Kawhi's okay at 6,600 if you can make it work. You've got Josh Hart at 5,900, Marcus Morris at 5,700. You know, Paul George at 9,600. I'm just not getting to him in cash, at least on FanDuel. So if you have to go to a Hart, a Marcus Morris, somebody like that, or even lower in order to get the Philadelphia value, in order to get the Orlando value, in order to play Joel Embiid, it is what it is tonight. It's only 4 games. You got to do what you got to do. So I'm okay sacrificing one spot, and it looks to me like maybe that's the small forward position. Power forward, I like the double Orlando guys, Bol and Okeke. I don't believe our projections have updated yet. Both their minutes should go up along with their fantasy point projection. Okeke specifically at 4,900. Just looks like he's going to be a little bit too cheap, and there's really nobody else around that price range that you can expect the sort of upside tonight. I know Vanderbilt's 5,200, but once Okeke gets more minutes, more fantasy projection, I think he's going to be a clear play over there. And that looks like pretty much it for FanDuel. I want to turn it over to you from a tournament perspective. You already mentioned, TJ, your rules, what you're doing with some of the Philadelphia guys. Maybe you can get into why you're a little less high on some of the Orlando players than I think the industry is today. You started off the show with that. Maybe give a little bit of your reasoning. How are you approaching some of those guys from MME perspective?
So Bol is my highest own, and I'm getting to a decent amount of Franz Wagner as well. But I just kind of feel like what's the ceiling on most of these guys? Like I really like Mo Bamba, but it's tough to play him when I would rather play Joel Embiid. Yeah. And so because of that, it's like, what is my ceiling on Chuma Okeke? Is his very best case scenario 7x, and he's more likely only going to 4x? Like, I don't really know if I want that today in tournaments. And so Bol's going to be my main guy because I think he's got the very high ceiling. I would like Mo Bamba a lot more if he had power forward eligibility, but because he doesn't, it's really just about Bol and Franz Wagner for me. I like Jalen Suggs, but there's just so many other guards that I like better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like Suggs quite. I like his assists. If you're looking for a prop on FanDuel, go hit Suggs is still at 5.5 assists. I wrote that up on Scores and Odds today. Absolutely. Actually, maybe without Wendell Carter, it takes a little bit of a hit, but I still think he can get, just with everybody else off the court that is a ball handler, I'm expecting Suggs to get over 5.5 assists. One of my favorite props of the day. So I don't really have any take. I like these guys for cash in order to get the Embiids, the Halliburtons, all the value out there. Looks pretty good, at least on FanDuel. What about the best of the rest? So we've talked Philadelphia, Orlando. Who are a couple guys on FanDuel? You're doing the 150. You like a little bit more than the field is, specifically when you're playing all of the Philadelphia guys. You know, we've got Utah, Portland, Clippers with Kawhi back. San Antonio's got some late news. Maybe you can late swap to that. What are you trying to do for the rest of these teams?
So with 95% Milton, 91% Melton, 81% Joel Embiid, the answer is I'm getting a lot of Timberwolves with them. I'm playing Karl Anthony Towns. I'm playing Anthony Edwards. I was underweight on Kyle Lowry yesterday, and that bit me in the butt. And it's kind of the same thing for Embiid today. Obviously, Embiid's just a much better player. And that's, if this gets gross and ugly, he's probably going to be the first Philly guy out of the lineup, and they'll just throw in the towel. If this stays close, he's probably going to have a mega monster game, just like Lowry did. And I want to run it back with somebody like last night it was Porzingis. Today for me, it's Karl Anthony Towns or Anthony Edwards. But I'm even going to be overweight on D'Angelo Russell and Rudy Gobert, even Jaden McDaniels, just in case those are the guys that have a big game. And so I'm getting to a ton of Timberwolves. And then outside of that, I'm kind of just mixing and matching a bunch of everybody. Outside of Timberwolves and Phillies, my highest owned players are Bol Bol, Miles Turner, Lauri Markkanen. And now that I'm looking at it right now, I need to get a heck of a lot less Benedict Mathurin because Tyrese
I don't hate him tonight as a more.
I don't hate him
shot,
tonight either, but not at 30% ownership.
No, I'd probably cut that in half. You're probably doing yourself a favor, I think, tonight. But I do like him from a tournament perspective. I've got a question for you on DraftKings. This is for my own personal cash team. Mo Bamba and Karl Anthony Towns, or Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards.
I'd go Gobert and Edwards.
All right, this one's like I don't know if that will decide my night on DraftKings, but that's an own personal question I have. I'm currently siding the Bamba Towns, but we'll see where it ends at the end of the show on that one. Anyway, let me go to DraftKings. At least from a cash game perspective, it's pretty similar to what we talked about on Fanduel. You've got the Sixers values. You've got Melton and Milton, right? You got to play both of those guys tonight. You need someone to spend on. That looks like it's Joel Embiid. You've got pick a couple of Orlando players, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner. These are guys with, I think, high floors and maybe a little bit more ceiling simply because there's just so many people out of that rotation for Orlando tonight. You can mix those guys in. If you needed to go to center, right? Rudy Gobert is 6,600 on DraftKings and he's 8,000 on FanDuel. So that is a tough question. I was definitely locked in on DraftKings to Gobert, but now with Mo Bamba entering the situation at 5,300, I think he could maybe do some of the things that Rudy Gobert does, and he's a little bit cheaper, and it lets me get to Towns over Edwards. And I think Towns is just a little bit more consistent. I know he is going up against Embiid a little bit here, so maybe I might
love Mo Bamba in tournaments today. It's just Mo Bamba in cash scares me, and that's why I went the other route.
Yeah, I think. And then Towns against Embiid, you never know what could happen in there. So maybe the other one, in theory, might be a little bit safer. So maybe I'll go back to that one. And then I guess one of the keys, you need like one of these super cheap guys to fill in, right? Even though Milton's, 3,100, you need like like a Daniel House Jr. He's 3,100. He sort of fits the bill of a guy who's going to play 30-ish minutes. Now, he might not do much, but on a slate like this, you're going to need Embiid. You're going to need some of the value players. You just have to take an L, right? Like if you're playing a Josh Hart or I forgot who was the other small forward in that range. A Marcus Morris on FanDuel, right? Like I don't love those guys. I don't absolutely love Daniel House, but he's 3,100 on DraftKings, and he just lets you fit in everybody else. He's going to be out on the court a lot too. So that's sort of where I'm standing. It's pretty simple. Philly value, throw in some Orlando guys, play Joel Embiid, play a guy like House Jr., fill in the rest, and you should be looking good on DraftKings. Now, I know you're MMEing on FanDuel specifically. So is there anything on DraftKings, I don't think you're on there tonight, that you would do differently? Is there a price, a strategy, anything like that looks a little bit different to you on DraftKings? I know that Rudy Gobert price is the one main thing I noticed between the two sites today.
Yeah, I definitely would get more Rudy Gobert. In addition to that, Shake Milton, where he's 3,100 with point guard and shooting guard eligibility. He'd be a lock button for me on DraftKings. Like, doesn't matter if I'm playing one lineup or 300 lineups. Shake Milton is going to be in them. I also like some of these Orlando guys more over there because you can play two centers. So I like Mo Bamba more. Bol is even cheaper, and he still has dual eligibility. Jalen Suggs is even cheaper. And so I like quite a bit of these Orlando guys more over there. And I'd be even more willing to take shots on some of these Indiana cheapies in MME scenarios. Like I would take more shots on Jalen Smith, more shots on Isaiah Jackson, as opposed to paying for somebody like Chumo Kiki, who I don't think has a high ceiling. I'd rather go way off the board in tournaments like somebody like that and hope for a big upside game.
And I want to bring in, I took some of these guys off the court this season on San Antonio. Keldon Johnson, he gets a 7, almost 8 fantasy point bump per 36 when you take Vassell and some of these other guys off. And that's not even mentioning Pirtle, who we're still waiting on news for. Is Keldon Johnson, what are you like? He's someone I would certainly be looking to have on my radar tonight in tournaments, because through this year, the fantasy production's insane. And even Jacob Pirtle, he's at 48 fantasy points per 36 with everybody off the court this year. If he suits up, these are some guys I don't think, like the Vassell news is going very overlooked now because we have all this Philadelphia value, all this Orlando value. Keldon Johnson looks like an absolute GPP smash in my opinion tonight. Maybe not smash, but a low-owned play that could definitely get there if that game stays close.
Here's what I'm wrestling with. Lowest total on the slate. Clippers play slow. Clippers play phenomenal defense, and now Kawhi Leonard is back. Clippers are at home. Can this game stay close? And even if it does, I think it's more likely to be staying close, like a 95-95 at the end, as opposed to a 120-120. And so even though the per minute rates for these guys are good, I'm hesitating to get too much San Antonio today just because of the game environment. And so my highest owned San Antonio player today is actually Josh Richardson. My favorite San Antonio player will be if Jakob Poeltl is out, and then it'll be Charles Bassey. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I'm not getting to very much of these guys. I'm currently getting 5% Trey Jones, 13% Keldon Johnson, 20% Josh Richardson, and then just baby sprinkles of Isaiah Roby in case Poeltl's out, Keita Bates Diop in case Poeltl's out. I have Jeremy Sohan in my lineup in 4% of lineups right now, but I actually think I'm going to X him out and try and boost Bassey into a couple.
All right. I'm going to go get some questions. That Orlando-Indiana game is the only one that locks at 7. Now, we will be using a lot of players from that, so we'll lock up some spots. So I'm going to go to our premium Discord first for all of the premium members. Get your QQs in there and on YouTube. It looks like Carolina guy wanted to know favorite Fanduel single entry spend up. It's obviously Embiid to me. Everyone's going to be playing him. Is there anything? He's like the only guy you can really spend up on that's above the 10K.
Yeah. Tier. So if you're assuming you have Embiid already in the lineup and you're wanting to know who your second one is it Paul George? Is it Towns? Is it Halliburton, Gobert, or Lillard? I think the answer to me is going to be Karl Anthony Towns by a pretty wide margin. But for tournaments, I do think it's very interesting to get over to play a bit of Tyrese Halliburton, because I don't know how many people are going to be going to him today after having that Q tag and being helped to the locker room last game.
All right. Let's see. D-Rock wanted to know the Orlando Bigs. So we've got Kiki, Bobo, and Bamba. Is there anyone you wouldn't play with each other? Could you play all three in a same tournament lineup, cash game lineup, etc.? Do you see any one of those that would hinder the other? They're all in the starting lineup tonight. I think they're all – I don't really see any problem playing, if you wanted to play 3 Orlando players, playing those 3 in the same lineup tonight.
I don't think you can play 3 in the same lineup, but I think you can play 2 of them.
Yeah, and then you mix in a Suggs or a Wagner. In theory, I like that whole Orlando starting 5 tonight against Indiana for sure. But we'll have to see how that plays out. Achilles want to know DraftKings cash Bol or Franz. So Bol, let's see. He is 6,200 power forward center. Franz is 6,800 shooting guard small forward. So let's play this out here. Rudy Gobert or Bol on DraftKings. If you got to play one of them at that price range tonight.
Rudy Gobert. All
right. And then Bol or Franz, if you had to play one of them. Franz has been very good with a good floor. I still think there's somewhat of a ceiling in there for him too.
If it's cash, I'd go cash. It's Franz, and tournaments, I think it's Bol.
Yeah, I think that's sort of where I would be leaning as well, in my opinion. All right, so that's the questions from our Discord. I'm going to run back to the YouTube. Max Coverage wanted to know Jalen Smith. So I was looking at him earlier. He's sort of gone by the wayside tonight. Where do you stand on him from a tournament perspective? What's the percentage you got him on FanDuel right now?
Not a priority for me, but definitely an interesting GPP flyer. He's super volatile, but we saw what his ceiling is just last game. So I have him in 5% of my lineups.
All right, I think that's fine. Looks like we've got him. I don't know. Looks like it's been updated around 10% on FanDuel. I think that's a pretty reasonable play. Not a lot, but a little bit for some upside. Sounds good to me. People are talking about Malik Beasley. What's your take on him tonight? You mentioned you wanted some of the Minnesota guys. Does he rank high for you?
Malik Beasley is actually now on the Utah Jazz. He's not on Minnesota anymore,
yes,
but
right.
He doesn't rank high for me. He's another GPP flyer, 2, 3, 4%. However, I believe he's usually much cheaper on DraftKings. He's $4,300 on DraftKings. I think he's a phenomenal tournament value.
Yeah, he's had some nice, consistent, maybe a little bit more upside than he usually has. And I know our projections don't love him, but if he's hitting this upside he's had over the last 4 or 5 games, looks pretty interesting to me. Would you play him over a Josh Hart in a tournament setting? I think that's a pretty reasonable thought, right?
Beasley versus Josh Hart. I would definitely rather Josh Hart.
You would rather Josh? Well, I mean, I know Hart's a little bit more expensive, but I don't know. I don't hate Beasley too much. Let's see here. DK, I'm just trying to find a couple more questions for you guys. Angel, he made a team without Embiid. Him and Gobert get into it tonight. I don't know. Will a non-Embiid team ship a tournament tonight? Like, Embiid's got to get in foul trouble or hurt or not give you like, what if Embiid has 48 FanDuel points tonight? Does that get it, or does he have to have the 50, 60 plus type of game to ship a tournament out there?
That's probably still fine, just because it's a 4-game slate. And so the thing is like, you're playing for a potential foul trouble, potential injury, this game getting ugly and him sitting the second half, something like that. It's not likely, but if it happens, you also have a very, very good chance of winning a tournament today. So that's kind of why I'm having 80% Embiid as opposed to 100% Embiid tonight.
All right. The Raiders want to know DraftKings. So Bol and Okiki or Towns and House. So do you want the two? I think I'd play Bol and
Towns and House by a lot for me.
You want Towns and House?
By a very wide margin for me.
I just bet some Bol props on FanDuel, so I'm pretty high on the Mr. Bol tonight. I understand why.
For me, I'm very high on Towns. Danuel House and Karl Anthony Towns are tied for my 4th highest owned player at 45%.
All right, I get it. Different takes from different people. That's what makes DFS great, and it's good to hear all the different viewpoints out there. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through YouTube. I don't see any more in Discord. If you guys want to throw any more questions into there for the premium guys, I'll make sure to get that. Let's see. Carter's out. Suggs. Beasley. All right. I think we got all the questions from both sites. If you guys have any more, please post them. Click the like button on YouTube if you got an extra second. We would appreciate that. There's quite a few of you in here. Helps other people find us and get us up the rankings when people are searching for DFS content. Steve-O wanted to know from Discord, Miles Turner love. He was another guy I was sort of like looking at quite a bit, 3 or 4 hours ago. Once all the news comes out, he's come down. I'm not really looking to use him in cash anymore. From the tournament perspective, where does he stand for you?
I still like him quite a bit in tournaments, playing this watered-down Orlando lineup. Wendell Carter Jr. is the best defensive player of that group. And so I'm a big fan of Miles Turner in tournaments today. I still think he has a super high ceiling, especially on FanDuel, where you get those extra points for stocks.
Yeah, that's always good here. Pretend someone's just coming in, TJ. They just logged into the show. They're scrambling. Give me 1 minute from a tournament perspective, some of your best takes today.
I will have at least 3 76ers in all of my lineups today. I will have at least 2 of Melton, and Embiid in every single one of them. My favorite thing to do in tournaments is just be heavy on the Minnesota Timberwolves and run it back the other way. And so I'm getting to a lot of Towns, getting to a lot of Anthony Edwards, and even some D'Angelo Russell, Rudy Gobert. And then from there, I'm basically just sprinkling in bits and pieces of everything. I'm going to try and let the field beat themselves. I think that the Philly chalk today is good chalk. And I'm hoping that game stays close, running it back with some Minnesota players and differentiating my lineups elsewhere.
All right. I'm just trying, if any of you are looking for some bets, I mentioned I like the Bull points and rebounds, overs. You can take them separately, or if you can find them together, I don't mind that. I bet the Clippers without Vassell, I think they're -9. So I made a bet on the Clippers. That's a 10:30 game, so you'll have plenty of time for that. So those are a couple of bets I made, and I already mentioned Suggs over 5.5 assists. When I made it, it was around 110, 115 on FanDuel. Someone in chat said it's -148 now. Now, I'm sure from the scores and odds, I didn't steam it that hard in my bet, but looks like the odds have shifted. Now, I like him to go over 5.5. What I might do is try to hit. I mean, you have to go up to 8 on FanDuel. That game's going to start in a second anyway. Well, they give you a little bit of time. The 8 alt line is reachable for him. That might be a little bit better. You'll definitely get plus money on that, but the -148, 150, probably a little too much juice for Suggs on that particular bet. Let's see here.
Can I tell you what I am most afraid of on this slate?
Well, let me try to think here. What have you talked about? What are you most afraid of?
Now that we're 1 minute before lock here, my lineups are in. I'm not going to be changing them.
Yeah, it's got to be from this first game then, right? Or is it?
Nope.
No. Let's see. Who did we like a Lillard or Markkanen having a big game?
If Markkanen has a big game, I will probably be a very rich man today because I got quite a bit of hand.
I always like Markkanen.
It's the centers, actually. I have 0% Zubats and 0% Nurkic.
Mm-hmm.
And those both frighten me a little bit.
Yeah, if Embiid, those are two that they have the ability to post good games, especially point per dollar value. So you would need what's Embiid at? Like almost 2.
What if Embiid gets 50 and they get 50 also? That's kind of like where my head's at. But like at the same time, I want to get a little bit of Bamba. I want to get a little bit of Gobert. What? That was an issue.
What happened?
And it's not that big of a deal, but it's something I shouldn't have done. I wanted to have Miles Turner as only power forward.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles Turner and Karl Anthony Towns both only have them listed as power forwards. Mm-hmm. But I did accidentally have some of them in there in the center position as well, stealing up some Embiid and Bamba exposure. And I didn't want that. So I probably would have gotten to some Zubats and Nurkic if I hadn't accidentally forgotten to do that. So
some of the best lineups come from things not happening that you want them to sometimes.
True, very true. But also very important to kind of look through your process, see where you like sometimes results don't always follow it, but always good to remember those things that where you feel like you made an error in your process so that you can learn from it for the next time.
All right. If you guys are playing football on Sunday, make sure to check out the single entry series over on FanDuel. That is a partner contest we put on with them. One entry. There's a couple guys, Puckrat, Tef3, Ledesto. Those are the leaders after the third week. Don't think because it's, this is week 4. All you have to do is have a good week and you get entered into the final and all that sort of fun stuff. Make sure to check out that as the single entry series. Thanks to FanDuel for sponsoring the show. If you're a new customer, you're going to no sweat bet up to $1,000. Make sure to read their terms and conditions for that. Other than that, TJ, I think it's fun. Go Orlando value, go Philadelphia value. That's what everyone in DFS is going to want. And I hope all of your tournament teams, all 150 of them, cash tonight, sir. So good luck to everybody out there. I'm Britt. He's TJ. Thanks for watching, and we out you.